All right, so we are up and running. Welcome to the Power Man Podcast, everybody. This is Rory Paquette, your host, your very humble host, as usual. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we get rolling, I do want to thank everybody for all of the messaging, everything that's come in lately. We've had so many different messages and emails and everything else about all the stuff that we have going on. Our personal mentorship is flying right now. We do have a few spots available still. If you folks want to contact us for any reason about any of that stuff, never hesitate. Go ahead and shoot us a DM at Power of Man Podcast, all one word, over on Instagram. Or you can send me an email anytime you want at powerofmanpodcast@gmail.com. We have a lot to talk about today and a very special guest. And so I'm going to, dispense with the pretense, take a quick sip of my preferred beverage. Oh, yeah. Deep, dark, rich, bold, beautiful, just like my wife. We're going to get this going here with an old friend of mine. We haven't connected for a while. We went to high school together. We played football together. And this is a guy who has had a very interesting life. In the pre-show, I found out more about this guy than than I had in the last, probably 20 years. He has overcome a ton of adversity. Today, we're going to be talking about some of it in terms of, weight and, your life and feeling stuck, feeling like you're, kind of dead inside and trying to like make your next move. One of the most important things he said to me in the pregame was, you know, we don't want to resign ourselves to a life of pain and inactivity. And this guy didn't. He went out and fought for it. So he's going to tell his story today, and we're gonna go way back. My guest today is my friend Al Stohler. Al, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing great. Thanks, Rory. Really appreciate you having me on today and letting me talk a little bit about my story. I think that, one of the things that we're supposed to do in life is help others. And obviously you're giving me a bit of a opportunity to get my story out there. And I hope I can help at least somebody that's going to catch part of this because you mentioned it in the preamble a little bit. I did feel a little bit stuck in life. And I was like a lot of people kind of hitting 50 and going, all right, is this it? Is this all I got to look forward to? What's next? Am I just going to be, stuck to this inactive life that I can't really do much and I'm a grumpy old man? Or am I going to do something about it and try to become more active and try to improve the quality of my life? Because I figure you got one life to live and you might as well enjoy it. So um, I was still enjoying life, but I was enjoying it in a different way than I wanted to. And quite frankly, some of the enjoyment had kind of gone out of the bag, so to speak. So it was just the grind, and you're going through the grind. You're tired all the time. You don't have the energy you wanted. Maybe your libido's gone. Maybe you're not going to the gym at all. Maybe you're not doing a lot of really great things when it comes to just a healthy lifestyle. And maybe you started self-medicating a little bit because you felt crummy and maybe you're on some pain medicine or maybe you're not, and maybe you're drinking more than you should and you're probably eating the wrong things. So all those things kind of come together to create a lot of inflammation. And I found that if I made a dietary change by removing a few items from my diet, suddenly that inflammation went down and the pain went down, and then I was able to move better, and then I was able to do other things. So it all worked together. But I discovered, as I had mentioned to you, that I had a gene for type 2 diabetes. So that was a concern. I had a gene for celiac disease, which meant I had an inability to process grains. So I did an Atkins style diet initially and cut out all the carbs. And that really, I noticed I started feeling better and my energy level went up. And I was like, that's weird. And my my labs started looking more normal as I started getting sugar out of my diet. So I think there are many of us that love sugar. We're addicted to sugar. We're addicted to caffeine. We're addicted to a lot of things.
Right.
Um,
So before I know sugar is one of the things that you took out. Let
yeah,
me paint a picture for folks because not everybody gets to see the video. Some people,
sure.
a lot of folks actually, we have thousands of downloads of folks who just listen, to the podcast. So
Right,
they're not going to understand the guy I'm talking to right now either. You know what I mean?
right.
When you first came to town, man, back in the day, you were our offensive line. You were like half of it almost. You know what I mean? But I mean, how tall are you, brother?
I'm 6'4". I was 407 when I started this journey. Now I'm
Uh-huh.
down to 268, which is what I graduated weighing in high school. So I'm back down to my old playing weight.
Man, nice. Nice.
There
Not
are
not everybody can say that. That's great.
no man, and my body weight at that point in time was I was 260 when I graduated from high school, but my body fat was pretty low. It was like 7.5%, which is pretty good for an offensive lineman.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No kidding.
I was fairly athletic and I was big and I was pretty strong. I was bench pressing 405 pounds as a senior,
Yeah.
I think I was squatting like 550, and I was strong enough to play at the next level, but my grades were not great. I was always very interested in being eligible, but not really interested in being a straight A student,
Hmm.
which I've probably paid for a little bit. I went on and went to college and graduated in 4 years from IU. And we talked about a little bit of that in the pre-talk, and I don't need to get into my education right now, but I have a science background. So part of what I wanted to do was find out why my body worked the way that it did. And I spent about 75 days, college level days, focusing on nutrition and longevity. And I discovered there were certain things that I was putting into my body that were poisonous to it. So once I started eliminating those and adding more of the stuff my body liked, suddenly this multi-fuel vehicle started getting the fuel it wanted and it started running right. I was like, this thing's been missing for the last 20 years. It ain't been running right, but it's been running. And all of a sudden the energy goes up. My overall feeling of wellness goes up. The anxiety goes down because a lot of those foods create anxiety. So the psychosomatic contribution to your diet. I mean, there's a mind stomach connection that a lot of people don't know about. But if your gut is healthy, your brain will be more healthy.
Hmm. Interesting. And so you would have started studying this stuff on your own because you weren't feeling good. You were feeling kind of
Because
stuck.
I was afraid I was going to die, and I really didn't like the fact that my doctors were giving me boilerplate answers that really weren't solving my problem. I was getting sicker. And, I don't know if you knew this, but I'm also the president of the Osteopathic Medical Foundation. I've been on that board for 20 years.
I had
And
no idea.
now,
Yeah.
yeah, so I do have some access. We've got a couple $1 million that we manage, and we give scholarships to college kids that want to become DOs. Our team physician was a DO. Larry Curry was a DO. So that was my first doc that I really knew, and he became a client, and then I got referred to a lot of these guys. So I started talking to I started teaching hospitals. I'd go in and talk to them about insurance and investments and helping them do what they needed to do. And then a lot of those guys became friends of mine, and then we ended up getting on a board and this, that, and the other. So as life goes on, if you're a networking type person that I know you are, you're going to do things that are going to create opportunities for you. And one of the things this has created is an opportunity for me to know more about medicine than most lay people. So
Sure.
I mentioned to you one item that everybody probably needs to look at removing from their diet. Sugar's one of them. At least reduce it.
Sure.
Another one is folic acid. And the reason I say folic acid is folic acid has been put on your grains. The FDA's mandated it for your crops since 1990, okay? We've had an incidence of autism. We've had dementia cases go up, heart disease cases go up, all kinds of brain fog. It's all tied to this particular element. We can't process this crap. What it does is it gives you a higher yield for your grains. So anything that says enriched, it's got it in there. So you can get grains that don't have folic acid in them. You just have to go to, you have to go to Aldi's and look at your non-GMO foods, because anything that's genetically modified, it's going to have that in it. Okay.
So if it
Now,
says non-GMO on it, does that mean no folic acid, or do you have to
that
look further?
you still need to look because it could have it, but if it says not genetically modified, then it's not going to have that in there, and it might have whole wheat in it, but it ain't going to have folic acid. So
Okay.
you need to get that out of your diet. And anybody that's listening to this, do yourself a favor. Most people are going to lose between 40 and 50 pounds just from eliminating folic acid from their diet. And it may take a year,
No.
but you'll start losing that weight because you're carrying heavy weight, heavy water, they call it. what the doctors call it. And that heavy water is just like basically sludge that you're carrying around in your body, and you're just picking this crap up and you can't get rid of it. So folic acid's bad, get rid of it. You need methylfolate in your diet, and that's a pill form. You can get it in your foods. We need methylfolate, and pregnant women need methylfolate. But if they're taking folic acid, it's creating postpartum depression, it's causing depression, it's causing autism, it's causing a lot of these things, and it's poison. So we got to get this shit out of your diets. Pardon my language. It's just awful. It's awful that they put it in foods. It's cheap. It's like fluoride, and fluoride's another thing you need to eliminate from your damn diet.
Right. Sure. Fluoride I've heard of, but yeah, until I was talking to you in the pregame, I had never heard about folic acid being a thing.
Yeah, and there, people will say, "Oh man, you're a zealot." Well, no, I'm a zealot because I feel so good. I feel like people need to know that you can make a couple of small changes that'll totally change your life. I mean, I'm talking totally change your life to the point where my resting testosterone now is 989. That's like what Baz Rutan's was when he was on the juice. That's not normal.
No, that's great. And to be honest, I mean, the whole time I've been talking to you, okay, even in the warm up and everything else, you have been just like, you're full of energy and vim and vigor and like life, man. I mean,
I'm living life. I'm living
legit.
life again. I'm living life, and I'm loving it because I feel so good. And when you're drunk with joy, which is what they say Christians are, and I'm also a born-again Christian, which might be part of the reason that I'm the way that I am. But when I started putting God first in my life, and I started loving my neighbor, made those the first two things I was going to do, my life got a lot better. And now I start my day with a purpose. I didn't know when we were going to get on this. I didn't know what we were going to talk about. I didn't know what I was going to talk about for sure, but I knew we'd talk about life.
Sure.
And obviously I don't have an issue with talking. So, finding spirituality, finding Christianity for me, finding my Christianity again has been a huge part of this whole process of me getting to feel like a more complete human. Because there was a period of time where I don't know if I really wanted to live. I felt so rotten. I wasn't excited about life. And now I obviously am.
A lot of guys go through that, of course. I mean, I talk to guys every single day. I have coaching clients who start with what you just said. I feel stuck. I feel like there's nowhere to go. I mean, it's almost like a why bother? Everybody wants to get better, but after trying to get better, and you fail. I think any guy hits a point where he goes, why am I doing this? You know what? I am where I am. This is just it. What changed things for you to make you go, sort of break out of the malaise of, I've had enough. I guess this is my life, to, damn it, I want to change. I want to do something different. I want to heal myself.
Well, for one, I was just very frustrated by the fact that I had been pushed down the pharmaceutical train, and I had become an opiate addict. I was on pills for 17 years. Ooh. 17 years of Oxycontin and Percocet and everything they threw at me, because I had so much pain and so much chronic inflammation that I'd had radiofrequency nerve ablations. They burnt my nerves. I'd had all kinds of procedures, and I was told by the surgeons that there was less than a 30% chance that if I in fact had a spinal restructuring done, a cage put in, had my guts removed, that would solve my problem. So they're saying the only thing we can do to control your pain, Mr. Stohler, is give you these pain medicines, which you're going to become addicted to. It's going to ruin your life for a period of time. Your digestion is going to stop. You're going to lose your first wife. You're going to probably get a divorce. You're going to probably lose your business. You're going to lose everything, but you'll be on these drugs for the rest of your life. So I was able to get off of those. And once I got off of those, I think that maybe was the door opener for me to be able to get my life back.
Wow.
So,
I mean,
so I don't think, you probably didn't know that either. So those are some things that I went through.
I had no idea. I'll be honest with you. That I mean, you threw so much into that box just now that unpacking that would take a long time. But I mean, I guess
I think I'm here to help. I'm here to help people, because there are people. Just because I've had all these things happen to me. There are a lot of people that have not had those experiences. Maybe they had one thing happen. So if you look at me as a beacon of hope or a way you can live your life, a way that you can actually get your life back, I'll tell you, you can get off of pain medicine, you can get your brain back, you can get your health back better than it ever was. Anything that's been taken from you will be returned in multitudes if in fact you do what it is that you are supposed to be doing, which is living your life according to the way we're taught if you're a Christian.
Wow.
And I'm very happy to be here, Rory, and I'm glad to talk to you about this. And I know it's a bunch. And you might want to pick off some topics and say, okay, why don't we talk about this week? Or why don't we talk about that? Because this is going to be a book.
Well, I appreciate your willingness to share, you know what I mean? Because there are a lot of guys out there who have all of these issues, not everybody all at the same time, and not all of them in one guy, you know, but
Right.
I knew just from talking to you that you'd been through a lot, you know,
Yeah.
trying to unpack that kind of thing, you know, let's just do this if that's okay, just, you know, for the
Sure.
next period of time. Um, y- it- Obviously the things that you brought up raise questions, you know, you were not, I mean, you had a pretty good life growing up. You
Yeah.
had good parents, you know, seemed like stable home. I
Oh,
knew your
yeah.
folks, you know, great people, your folks.
Very
Um,
fortunate.
yeah. And then, you know, college, joined the business, so on and so forth. Um, is there, can you sort of put your finger on either an event or a course of events? I mean, the question in my mind first is what happened? You know what I mean? What happened to kind of lead you into
Mhm.
that where the pain, because the pain doesn't just come out of nowhere, you know,
No.
and all the sorrow and everything else doesn't come out of nowhere. It's always a progression, but kind of what led you down the path to getting
Well,
into that kind of pain in the first place, brother?
Well, I had some injuries playing high school football. I broke my back my senior year. I broke 8 of the processes in my vertebrae, and then I did it again my freshman year in college. And then I worked a bunch of construction jobs. So I was basically like a piece of heavy equipment.
Oh my
And
God.
so, the back issues, the arthritis, that was already going on. We had some family history of autoimmune disease. My brother's actually got some stuff going on with psoriatic arthritis. So that that I was allergic to aspirin. There were some weird things, and I was a childhood asthmatic. So those arthritis and asthma sometimes go together. They say when you start studying this stuff with
Okay.
the autoimmune. So I had the pain. I had, I think, the inflammation just based on the way my body was wired and the way that I was eating. And I went into business. I sold cars right after I got done working construction, and I did that for Mike Leap for about 3 years. I sold cars full time and went to school full time. So I was going to school, 18 hours a semester, and I was working 4 10-hour days at Gurley Leap, and they were kind enough to work with me. And then I was, going to school. So I graduated. I graduated in May. I joined my father's practice in December after I gave Leap another 6 months because I wanted to honor they were good to me, so I wanted to give them the rest of the year.
Sure.
During that year, I made $40,000 as a 21-year-old kid going to school full time. So I already had a bit of a jump, and I had sold several hundred cars during that time, and those names became my prospects for insurance.
Aha. Okay. Good
So,
deal.
so I did that. I'd taken an aptitude test that indicated that the insurance business was the one that I should be in. I had a career profile in 19, which is as high as it goes. I mean, it's like getting, back in the day, like a 1600 on your SAT to say, hey, maybe you should go to college.
Right.
So I was definitely well suited for this business, and because of the fact I was well suited, I didn't have to work real hard at it to do pretty good. So I could usually get more done in a couple hours than most people could get done in a day. That was just the way I'd do 3 meetings and I'd be done by noon, and I was off doing what I want to do. And part of what I like doing was like coaching. So I enjoyed coaching both agents because I was a manager too. So I had agents that I was coaching, but then I like coaching football. I coached my kids. I coached wrestling. I also coached, high school football, and I went and coached at Clay for 4 years with Steve Scott. And we took that group of kids that came through there and went to semi-state, almost went to state. That was kids that I had coached.
Yeah, I remember that year.
So
Yeah.
yes, so I was part of that. And then life goes on. So as we you said, what happened? What was the point? Well, when I was having issues standing on the sidelines coaching my son because my back was hurting so bad, I started going to a pain doctor, and he started saying, well, here's what we can do here. There's a procedure we can do. We gave some medicine. Once we quiet this pain down, hopefully you'll be able to return to normal life. Problem was they could never quiet it down. It just got worse and worse. I had referred pain that went around my belt line into my left testicle that felt like somebody was squeezing it. And I don't know if you've ever had pain like that before, but it didn't go away. It was nonstop. It was like the volume knob was turned on. So I was willing to do about whatever they wanted me to do to make the pain go away.
Sure.
I mean, I was thinking like, dude, whatever it's going, because it wasn't worth living because I was in that much pain. So the pain was really the start of the decline. I mean, my life would have been dramatically different, but my best friend happened to be my physician. Okay. So my best buddy was, he was along with me on the ride, and he was like, dude, we can only do what we can do for you. But it wasn't like I didn't have an open dialogue. So that's how you manage to be on pain medicine for 17 years. You're compliant.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But it becomes like a drug dealer. And the problem is when you're on pain medicine, your life revolves around the clock of when you take your next pill because you feel like crap when you're not taking the medicine.
Right.
And then what happens is your dopamine stops being released and produced in your body. Your brain stops working right. So then when you get off of those drugs, you feel like total dog crap. And you don't feel normal for sometimes up to a year. That's why, people that get addicted to this stuff, and many people do, you can be physically addicted after 2 or 3 weeks. Okay. 3 weeks, you're an addict. Okay. 3 weeks of 24-hour on this stuff, you're an addict, and you're going to need to maybe even go to rehab. I never went to rehab, dude. I did all this on my own.
Wow. So, all right, the pain leads to the pills, and basically just for the pain relief so that you can function. The pills basically destroy you, and you end up, even worse off years later with the doctors telling you, well, you're gonna, have to put a cage in your spine, and you not be able to move.
Yeah.
How do you? And I am encapsulating some of this because I know there's a million things to talk about, and but just to kind of stay on the path. For guys who are in this spot, for guys who are going, look, I took the pain pill to get rid of the pain, the swallowed the spider to catch the fly type of nonsense. You know what I mean? How do you get off?
Well, this is how I got off. My brother came to me and he said, dude, you got to get off of this. It's going to kill you. You're going to die. I'm going to lose my brother Bill. And Bill had gotten involved in the cannabis industry, and he owns a couple of dispensaries. And Bill said, hey, man, I think that you might be able to benefit from THC. I think that if we get you some RSO and we get you some edibles, I think that you might be able to get off of this stuff. And I did. So gummies got me off of pain pills. And then I got off because I was also self-medicating with alcohol, because you cannot find somebody to write you a prescription for pain medicine at the level that I was taking it at so that it would work. To keep it for a month. So what would happen is you'd run out of your pills about halfway through the month. Then you'd feel like total shit. So you'd drink. You'd substitute when you weren't working, you'd drink alcohol, because that was the only thing that made your brain quiet down enough that you could live.
Right.
And then you'd quit doing that when your pills got filled again. So it's just an endless cycle, a nightmare. And there are so many people on that terrible roller coaster that I could help them get off. I could get your kid off of drugs. I can fix your broken family. I know that. I can fix your broken brain, but your doctor can.
Wow. So it was an outside influence from your brother. That kind of gave you a little bit of a wake up call. And then, he turns you, onto the THC. Now, are you still taking that? Is that still part of your diet, or was that the transition to get off?
I took it for about 3 years, and then I managed to stop taking that because it really stopped working. Okay. It was really weird. The RSO, because I'd gotten up to taking a gram of RSO a day, which is a lot. That's like for cancer patients. Mm-hmm. And, it doesn't affect me the way it affects a lot of other people. It might actually speed me up a little bit, but pain medicine sped me up too. And so does alcohol. So, almost like a mania-leaning brain, one that is very active. Many times people will take these things that are supposed to be depressants and they speed them up.
Okay.
Like Ritalin, is speed, but it's supposed to slow down somebody that's hyper with a hyper brain.
Right. Yeah.
It's
So
interesting, but yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, please.
Well, I'd say my expertise has just come through grassroots effort. And really, my primary goal in any of this, is just to get the information out to people so they know there's an option. And I can't imagine anything being more frightening for a parent than having a child that maybe is addicted to medicine, can't get off, has been to rehab 2 or 3 times. We have friends that have lost children to this.
Yeah.
I mean, I was working with Mike Savage when he lost his boys. How do you think that worked? How do you think I felt, being an addict and being around that? And I was a full blown addict working for him, and I'm dealing with hearing him cry every night about losing his boys.
Right.
And I'm going, man, I know what you're dealing with, but I'm stuck in the middle of it. And nobody knows.
Right. And just
Nobody.
for the folks who don't know, because this is a local story, of course, and I know it gained some national recognition, but the Savages are people that you and I both went to school with. We both
Yeah.
knew him and his wife.
Yeah.
Their 2 boys basically very tragically ended up passing because of prescription medication that
Yeah.
was taken inappropriately
At a party.
at a party. Right.
Yeah.
And so
And there were some people that were at that party, some big names, kids, parents with big names like
yeah.
Brian Kelly. His kid was at that party. He ended up leaving and going to Culver because of that. You got so many people that have money. What happens is my parents had money. They sweep this crap under the floor. You enabling children and letting them stay on the drugs and doing whatever they're doing, they're going to die. If it was anybody else, I'd be dead. There's no way that I should be alive right now based on what I've gone through.
Yeah.
I should have been dead a long time ago. So for me to be here, there's a reason for it. God put me here for this reason. He put me here for a reason a long time ago. And, I'm going to make a difference. And I knew I wanted to make a difference and I was going to make a difference, but I didn't know how I was going to make a difference. And when God came to me literally a year ago in the middle of a dream and said, hey, dumbass, this is what's going on in your life. And I said, hey, I got questions for you. And he spent 6 hours with me talking. And he said, this is what happened here. This is what happened here. What about this? What about that? Why did these things happen to me? And at the end of all of it, he goes, do you have any other questions for me before I conclude this visit? And I said, yeah, I got a question for you. He said, when am I going to die? And he goes, well, my son, he said, it's not important for you to know when you're going to die. He said, it's important that you want to live. And then I woke up. And that was a year ago.
Wow. So where does that take you?
Well, it took me to a path of spirituality. I mean, I'm part of a Bible study now. I'm on a Bible study called 5 days a week with an ordained minister, with a Southern Baptist, with a Catholic, and my partner in business is a Jew. So my life is really involved in just total living life, and living life means living a complete life, and it's not just living a successful business life. It's living all of it. It's living where you're done at the end of the day and you just go, wow, man, that was a day, and you can't wait to get up in the morning and do it all over again because it's going to be another one.
Sure. I mean, I'm sitting here, as someone, if anybody ever asked me, hey, do you know Al? I would have said, yeah, sure, I know Al. But I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't know any of this was going on with you, brother.
Yeah.
You hit a lot of this really, really well from a lot of folks, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, real good. Very good.
I mean, to sit here and talk to you after all this time and to have you just openly use the word addict, to describe yourself. I mean, that's
Oh, yeah.
jarring to a lot of folks to have to hear that. But you're just you're not. It doesn't sound like you're being disparaging either. You're just saying, look, this was a fact. I was
No, I
addicted.
was sick.
This is
I
what
was
happened.
sick. They
Right.
made me an addict. The doctors, the hospitals, the medical community made me an addict. And then when it came time to deal with the addict at the very end of it, when they didn't want to prescribe me the pain medicine the way that they used to, they said, fine, you're non-compliant and you can be gone from the practice. We just cast you aside. So then you got an addict that, what do you want me to do? Go do heroin? Is that how
Wow.
I'm supposed to survive? Because that's what happens. And that's why there's so many people that go from pain medicine to heroin,
Right.
to the other opiates. So it's a gateway. I don't think weed's bad. I think that weed is helping more people. I mean, your mom had cancer, right? If your mom had an access to weed, she might not have died of cancer. The RSO that I was taking, actually is used in cancer treatment. Roy Simpson is the guy who invented it. He is an engineer in Canada. Roy Simpson had skin cancer. Roy Simpson put this on an open wound and it killed it. In 3 days, his cancer went away. So this stuff is real. It's medicine. It's not hocus pocus. It's not hippy dippy shit. This is like living your life and feeling like you're alive. And there is nothing that I can't compare this with anything. It is literally like living a life of love, a life where you just love your life, you enjoy people, you find the best things in people, and you like helping them. I mean, that's really kind of like my mission. I was trying to help people that are stuck get unstuck.
Wow.
Because my business is also on fire. I mean, if you knew how my business was always pretty good, but I'm now writing on a monthly basis about $240,000 of premium, which is the equivalent of $3 million a year. Okay, that's more than most agencies are writing, and I'm doing it with one other guy.
Wow,
so
that's great.
So business is phenomenal. My life is phenomenal. Saying all those things, but I'm also going through a divorce. Do I seem like a guy that's going through a divorce?
No, you really don't. Yeah, that's
God's got it. God has this. God brought this woman into my life. She helped me become more spiritual. She served her purpose. She was an addict, okay? So I learned more about addiction by being married to her. But she wanted to continue to drink. And that's why we're not going to be together, because I can't do it anymore. Because I can't have my life be so good and then have it not be so good because somebody's not willing to do what they're supposed to do. Love her to death. It's just the way that it is. And that's public knowledge, so I don't mind sharing it. I mean, if you have an addict in your life, help them get help. And if they won't get help, then you can't help them.
Okay. Those are big words. Yeah, I hear that. When you and I first started, we knew this was going to be more than one shot. So, let's do this. Let's definitely break this into several episodes. Okay,
let's do it.
But for sure, let's end this particular episode with just one more little section. Let me ask you this. Everything right now has kind of come full circle to you and your faith.
Yeah.
So what do you want to tell people about the process that you went through? I mean, the conversation with God, obviously, feeling like you're called to, do what you're doing right now, which is frankly, I think the beginning of you sharing it with a lot of people on a bigger stage. You know what I mean? We got a lot of listeners, man. So
I think that I'll probably do some public speaking. I think it's going to probably go that way, and that's going to be one way I can help folks. But I truly believe that the human mind is repairable. And I think that if you treat it like the science-based product that it is, and you figure out what components that brain needs, and you do it for a period of time, you can suddenly get that brain back online. And I think part of the issue we have with a lot of us is there are parts of our brains that are just no longer working at all. So in order to feel good, your battery's got to be charged. And if you're walking around at 20% all the time, you're not going to feel very good. So we got to get your battery so that it will charge. If that battery is not charging right now, we got to figure out why. And really, that's part of the nutrition and the supplements and all the rest of the stuff that we need to do to get you, to be the optimal person that you want to be. So Huberman, who's an ophthalmologist at Stanford, a neuro-ophthalmologist that I follow, he came up with kind of a protocol for the supplements that I take. And then Gary Brecka, who is the longevity expert, who's the guy I mentioned that had helped Dana White. I just used what they had come up with. I didn't try to reinvent the wheel. And things like cold water immersion therapy, hot water, like getting in a spa, hitting yourself with a hose after you get done with that, grounding, getting your feet in the ground. It's a holistic approach. Red light therapy, first morning sun, stuff like that. It makes you want to be more spiritually inclined. So I'm really talking about taking somebody, whether they're healthy or not healthy, and putting them almost through a boot camp to get them to be, the optimal human that they can be. I
Wow.
think that's kind of where it came from, but it wasn't me. It was just stuff that I stole from other people. I didn't invent any of this. I just read and they said it would work. And I said, okay, I'll try it because I got to do something.
All right. I definitely want to talk to you more about the plan, the specifics, the whole bit. I
Yeah.
mean, your story is one that's incredibly inspirational for a lot of guys. For this particular episode, because, we try to keep them in, digestible
Yeah.
doses. So let's wrap on this one
Cool.
and definitely keep going. So stay on with me after this. Okay. And
Yeah.
let's talk some more.
Okay.
The, you're out there trying to make a difference. Do you have any problem if, one of our listeners is going through some of this stuff and they just want to ask you a question?
No,
They just want to
I
say, "Hey,
love it.
man, what about this? How can somebody reach you if that's cool and they just want to ask you
Yeah,
something?"
they can email me. They can email me my personal email, which is my name, ALSTOHLERG at AOL.com. That's right, AOL. That's how old school I am.
I
I think I
wasn't
got
going to
about
say
130,000 emails in there, so I'm sure I'll get right to it.
that. Right
And
on.
actually,
Okay.
my cell phone is fine as well. That's 574-360-4566. I just prefer that you not call, text me and tell me what your name is and what you're looking for. And that way I can do a little research if it's something that I don't have the answer to.
All right, that's big, man. That's a big offer. I appreciate that. So we'll put that in the show notes of this particular episode for sure,
Yeah.
and we'll get rocking. Um, Al, we're going to wrap this up here, man. I cannot thank you enough for the beginning of this and for
Yeah.
starting this way. There are at least 10 more questions I want to ask you, but
Sure.
I can't have a 3-hour podcast. So I'm going to have
No,
to do
no,
another
no. But
episode.
if you want to talk about them and then we can cover them later, that's fine. If you want to, wherever you're going to stop the podcast, cool. You and I can hang out for a minute and talk about some of the stuff you might have questions about, and then go from there.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's after we're done here, let's chat for a minute. So,
Cool.
all right, Al, thank you so much. I
You
appreciate
bet.
you being here today. Folks, the reason that we have powerful men like this on, the reason we have on these men who have battled adversity, who have, found their own way very often, is because the guidance that we all need just isn't always out there. Okay. Al was able to make a very big change because he had a brother who gave a damn. And one of the things that I'm always telling you guys is that, even though we never want to let them see us weak, you still need a brother. You need a brother who's got your back. You need somebody that you can count on. And that's one of the things that we do here at Power of Man. So if you don't have that in your life, reach out to us. It's one of the things that we do. Our private Facebook group is great for that. The Power of Man Within on Facebook groups. It's one of the things that we do there. And I encourage all of you, if you're feeling at all like Al has described over the last few minutes here, reach out, get that help, and let a brother get you back.
Yeah.
It matters. It matters. It matters. You matter. You're worth it. All you have to do is believe it. Until next time.